Happy holidays, guys, gals. Bored now, back with Rachel McDonald. And the Christmas season for many people, including me, very much means Die Hard. So we decided to do a special review of the action classic from 1988, starring a younger Bruce Willis in his first major film role, and also starring Alan Rickman in probably his first major
It
film
was,
role as
yes.
the villain. Yeah, Hans Gruber. So two pretty much unknowns at the time. Willis had
Mm.
obviously had a bit of buzz on TV with Moonlighting, and this was his big sort of move into movies. New York cop John McClane, who goes to LA to visit his wife, but their marriage is on the rocks for the holidays. She works in the Nakatomi Plaza, goes to try and repair their marriage. They're having like the annual Christmas party, and he sort of feels like a fish out of water. Building is hijacked by terrorists led by Alan Rickman, Hans Gruber. So the situation becomes then John McClane is up in his wife's office, so he has to use his instincts, use his skills as a cop, and save the hostages, and to try and save Christmas. Let's face it, that's what he's fighting for. Just a fun fact before we get into it:
Mm.
did you know that it was supposed to be Frank Sinatra playing the John McClane role? I don't know if you've heard that.
No? How would
No,
that have
okay.
worked? My God.
Well, yeah. This is a good story. The reason is because his production company had the rights to the book that the film's
Okay.
based on,
Mm.
so that's why he was getting. But he sort of realized, came to his senses, and realized then, because this is obviously 1988,
Mm.
when Sinatra would have been getting on a little bit. So he rightly came to his senses and realised he was a bit too long in the tooth to play the
Yeah.
role. To justify why this is a Christmas movie, because a lot of people argue that point. Do you want to make a case for
Oh, this is
it being a Christmas?
totally a Christmas movie, okay? It's
Yeah,
not just the fact that it's set at Christmas. Obviously, you have movies set at Christmas that might not necessarily be Christmas movies. For me, a Christmas movie is a movie that uses Christmas throughout the movie and,
mm,
uses it as humor or
yeah,
uses it as a theme. And this movie definitely uses Christmas as a theme. I mean, you have from everything from the now I have a machine gun, ho, 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 to the guy being all like, it was the night before Christmas and all through the house, and then right at the end, I think they even say Merry Christmas, the fact that it is a Christmas party and he's only there because it's a Christmas party. I would
yeah.
definitely class Die Hard as a Christmas movie. I think it uses the holiday well, and I think that it utilizes the holiday and uses it for humor and for fun. And yeah, so I'm definitely on the side of Die Hard being a Christmas movie, especially after this most recent rewatch.
If Christmas is sort of driving the plot, then
Yes.
it's a Christmas. Like you say, he's there. That's the reason he's there, because it's
Hmm.
Christmas. Like he's there for the holidays to try and
Yeah.
patch things up. So, and throughout there's Christmas imagery and
Yes.
references to Christmas. It ends
Hmm.
with snow, which
Yes.
actually
Yes.
the first two Die Hards both do, because Die Hard 2 is also really a Christmas movie as well.
Mm.
So, but also, you could go really, really deep and say that his wife's name Holly, that's maybe deliberate.
True. That's true. I hadn't
Something
thought of
you
that.
forget about, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
you sneak quite a few Christmas like bits of music on the
Yes,
score as well,
they
because
do.
there's
Yes.
definitely like quite early on when they're going around, they definitely mix in like a classic Christmas tune
Hmm.
with the regular score. So yeah, really, it's all over this film in
Yes.
many ways.
First saw it when I was very young on TV, I think probably around Christmas. So it became one of those movies where I really only remembered the very basic outline. I remember John McClane, I remember certain iconic scenes, obviously remembered Hans Gruber, Argyle, everyone remembers Argyle because I love Argyle.
Yeah, he's a good
um,
supporting
yeah, he's great.
guy,
But
isn't
I
he?
I didn't remember a lot of the specifics and I didn't remember a lot of the action sequences and I forgot forgot how funny this film is at times. I had so much fun
Yeah.
watching this film. I just had the biggest grin on my face the whole time I was watching. We talked about this off screen recently, but they do not make action movies like this anymore. We just don't have these fun, charismatic leads who get so much shit done and take so much damage, and just some of the stunts and some of the action sequences and just the cheesy fun of 80s and 90s action movies have been severely lost, I think. And I think this movie really is like the peak of like 80s like action, and Bruce Willis is so charismatic and so fun as John McClane, and Alan Rickman, who's not even trying to do a German accent. I don't even know what he's doing in this movie. Half the time he just sounds like Alan Rickman, but he's having so much fun. And yeah, I basically looked like this the whole time I was watching the movie. I was just like, this is so good, this is so much fun. And what I also really like as well is the characters are actual characters, you know? They have motivations and inner workings and complexities. I mean, obviously it's an action movie, so we're not going too deep. But, you know, John McClane's got his own issues with his wife and being, living away from her. And Holly Gennaro, I forgot, is pretty badass herself, you know? She doesn't get a lot of action, but I love the scene where she goes into Hans Gruber and he's like, what idiot put you in charge? And she's like, you did. When you killed my boss, everyone's looking to me now. So, she's got her moments. And of course, Hans Gruber is one of like the best movie villains ever. He usually makes like top 20 lists and stuff. And Alan Rickman, this being his first acting like proper movie role, you can see is just having so much fun. So I had such a good time rewatching this. Did you have fun? This is a movie that you rewatch regularly, isn't it?
Characters are so great, and the action of the movie is just so well executed.
Yeah.
I think, John McTiernan, the director, is sort of one of the best action directors from his era. And I think just the pacing and some of the ideas of the story and just all the characters in general are so well done, at least like the main ones. And then I agree, it's worth saying about Holly, because a lot of times, in this era of Hollywood, women didn't always get the most meaty roles, but she is a very like independent, strong female type character who's very smart and very direct. I like the way she deals with that slime bag Ellis.
Ellis.
Yeah, classic yuppie slime bag.
He is, isn't he? Yeah.
The way she deals with him is great. I also like stuff like her holding the boss back, in the scene in the lobby, which, it's like she's smart enough to know that he's probably going to get killed if he, gives himself over. And it's obviously a credit to him that then he does give himself over. He thinks that's the right thing for his employers.
Yes.
To try and protect them, sort of thing. But the whole tension of scenes like that, it's a really tense film, even though like to a certain extent where everything's going to end up and stuff, and those. But I think two things on that. One is those scenes are truly tense.
They are.
And the other thing is they do throw up certain little twists or certain little moments. Like one moment at the very end of the film, I actually like that other terrorist pops up out of nowhere, and because you naturally assume that once Rickman has been killed off his character, then
that's going to be it.
That's going to be it. So I actually like that. It's almost like a horror type twist where a horror monster pops back up out of nowhere, and that's a nice little moment for Al, isn't it? I think his name's Al, isn't he?
Yes, because Al had the story earlier, because McClane had clued into the fact that Al is obviously smarter than your average desk jockey cop. And he's like, what happened to you? Why are you stuck on the desk? And Al tells that story about how he accidentally shot a kid, which I got to say made me realize we are living in such different times. A cop feeling bad about shooting an unarmed kid and actually going back to desk jockey. You don't really have that kind of storyline these days.
Yeah.
What with the American police running around all willy-nilly. But yeah, so the fact that he was able to take out the bad guy at the end, because he talked about how he couldn't imagine drawing his gun after that. So that's a big moment for him. I love Al. I think Al is a great supporting character. I love the way he talks to John and how he's like the only person that's like, this guy knows what's going on. Like the FBI and the other guy who's in charge, the deputy chief officer, they're such idiots. And so So I love that Al is just there like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, listen to him. He knows what's going on. So I love that moment when he comes out of the building right at the end, McClane, and he and Al, they see each other and they instantly know, oh, that's you. And they have that moment. And like, that's a moment that you wouldn't see in a modern action movie. We don't see those types of moments anymore. They've taken the cheese and the heart out of action movies, which just because a movie is an action movie doesn't mean it can't still have emotion. And I think that the 80s and the 90s really understood that when it came to action movies, and that modern action movies are just too cynical. They're cynical and they're dark and they're gritty, and everyone has to be like a down on his luck detective and all screwed up by the system. So I like that John McClane, he's got his issues, yeah, but he's just your average cop. He doesn't have any big trauma or, some horrifying backstory. He's just an NYPD cop who's having some marital issues and is having a really bad day. Like a really bad day. So I just really love that about Die Hard, that they keep their main character like that. We just don't seem to have those kind of heroes anymore.
My first year at uni, I did a presentation on Die Hard, and it was to do with like technology. Yeah. And it's funny because the other people, they had like these more sophisticated like sci-fi type movies, and at first what am I going to say about Die Hard and technology? But of course, one of the big things, which is it's the fact that you've got these more advanced tax savvy criminals or tech savvy.
Yes.
And then John McClane has to go back to bases to beat them because he doesn't have the same level of resources. So he has to use his street smarts and, his basic materials that a regular cop would use. So that's part of the thrill of the film. And there's obviously a bit of a class thing going on, like the two extremes, because that's one of the things about the Rickman Hans Gruber is he is this more like middle class European style villain who actually thinks outside the box. He's much more cerebral and savvy than your average action movie villain. Because one thing about him is then when a bad situation happens in the movie, he's really calm and collected.
He actually doesn't, isn't he? Yeah.
Because a lot of action movie villains, like from the 80s or other decades, they the moment something goes wrong with the plan, they would just get really pissed.
They lose it,
shit. But he actually stays calm and he puts things in perspective and he has a plan, to counter what's happening. And there's just certain things with him. Like I really enjoy, the scene where he's caught by McClane, but McClane doesn't know that he's the villain.
That fake American accent, so good.
Yeah. And that's on the spot because he doesn't expect to be caught. So that's really good. Like the way he tricks McClane. That scene, and obviously it shows McClane's smart as well because he doesn't load the gun that he gives him. So that's like I don't think he knows who he is, but I think it
he's
just
not
shows
taking any chances.
That's their actual first meeting.
Yeah, their first face-to-face meeting.
Because they've had all this stuff with banter and interactions over, and that's another cool thing about the film is that you have all these interactions in this massive building, and a lot of them is over like walkie-talkie radio style thing. It just adds more intrigue and it just builds things up gradually to these big sort of showdowns. Yeah, it's really good stuff. But Yeah, like I said, that there is a lot to do with like class and stuff because you could say also the more snooty like chief of police guy,
Yes. Oh
like
God, I wanted to
compared
smack
with
him in the
Al,
face.
he's the more
Yeah.
But of course, that's also the actor is Paul Gleason out of Breakfast Club, and he played
Yes, yes, that's
a
who he
total
is.
arsehole in
Thank
that as
you.
well. Yeah,
The
he's
whole movie, I'm
fantastic.
like, where have I seen you? I know you from somewhere, and you're an asshole in that as well. Thank you.
So good
Yes.
at playing arseholes, yeah.
Yeah.
And he has one of the best lines of the movie when
Mm,
he's like coming up with excuses. And
mm.
I was like, well, what about the guy who was thrown off the building? And he said, it's probably just a depressed, like,
Yes,
stockbroker or
yes,
something,
yes,
which is brilliant. That's so
yeah.
great.
I also
Yeah,
love
he's
at the end.
such a good.
He's so good. But when Hans has been thrown out the window and he's just like, God, I hope that's not a hostage. And I'm just like, it's
Yeah.
so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and I just love how Weasley is when he's panicking about upsetting like the local like mayor or something on
yes,
Christmas Eve or
yeah.
something like
Yes,
when
yes.
the FBI come in and have the
Mm,
idea to turn the whole system off. But
yeah.
yeah, it just works so perfectly for the drama. And the FBI are just so clueless. They just
God,
come in
they're
all
such
gun ho.
cowboys. Jesus
They
Christ.
Johnson and Johnson as well, which is pretty funny. You've got Big
I
Johnson
love
and
how
Little
they're
Johnson.
like no relation. One of them's black, one of them's white, and they're like, yeah, no relation. It's
Yeah,
like so
yeah, yeah.
good. Oh no, just so much
And
fun.
actually, one gag I like with them is something. It's when they're in the helicopter and all this, masculinity is flying around,
I
and like
know.
Big Johnson says something about this is like Saigon, and
My
he's like,
God.
I was in high school, dickwad, or something like that. The other one said, it's pretty
You're
funny.
right though. There's so much machismo going around with these dudes, isn't there? It's like, oh my God, just put it
Yeah,
away. Such dickheads.
but yeah, there's so many like classic '80s actors in this, like just because you've also got the douchebag who was in Ghostbusters as like the reporter.
Yes, William
Have
Atherton. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, the one who chooses to shut down the storage facility in Ghostbusters. Yeah, it's
Oh,
official. That guy has no penis. It's it's one of the great lines from that film.
oh, brilliant.
But of course, he plays the reporter in this, the
hmm
slimy.
The slimy reporter who
But
goes to the guy's house and is all like, "Oh, let me speak to the children while their parents are dying." It's like, get out of here, you vulture! Such a dick.
yeah, and he only gets in because he threatens to call
Call the INS.
immigration on. Yeah,
Oh,
what a
what a
terrible guy.
dick. I gotta say, speaking of 80s villains, I absolutely love the scene where we first see the bad guys come, and it is the most 80s group of dudes you will ever see. From the guy with the mullet to the two guys that look like they are going to go to WWE wrestling, they all just look so very 80s. It's fantastic. Oh, it's so funny, and I love the blonde one that gets really pissed off with McClane and is making it personal. The one that comes up at the end. I love that he throws a spanner into the works when he refuses to neutralize McClane because he wants to actually kill him as revenge. It's like, dude, you're on a robbery. Don't let it get
Yeah,
so
his
personal.
his brother gets killed. Yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
but
no, they're good, like supporting villains. They're a good,
mm,
like each one has their own sort of distinct
yes,
persona in a way.
yeah.
I think my favorite might be the hacker one. He's
Oh, the black
very
guy. Yeah,
entertaining.
I like him.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
quite charismatic actually.
mm,
Yeah, he has some good stuff.
yeah,
So
yeah. I
yeah,
quite
they're a
liked him as
good like
well.
group of villains.
Mm. I was
And
also yeah.
I also quite enjoy when Groob was talking to not the FBI guy, the chief of
The
police, the
chief guy,
douchey
yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he's given his list of demands, like all these terrorists he wants releasing, and he just makes one up, doesn't he? That's
Yeah, he
really
does.
funny.
Yeah, that's
He
awesome.
says, "I just read it in Time magazine" or
Yes, yes.
something.
And this is what I mean. This movie is just so much fun and just so funny in some parts. And I just really enjoyed watching it. And I was going to say, when you were talking before about the action scenes and like McClane having to use like whatever's at his disposal, what I really love about McClane is that they show, even though he is a cop and obviously he knows how to do certain things, he's still just one guy in a building with a bunch of terrorists. And I love that every so often you'll see him have to do something like go down the elevator shaft and he's just like, oh shit balls, you know, like it's not just like some swinging action hero who always knows what to do and always knows that, like, you can tell that McClane is literally just making things up as he goes. And I think that really adds to the tension and the
Yeah.
fun of the movie, is that you see that, yeah, he's a cop, but he's still just a regular guy and he's still just working with the only thing he's got. And there are so many times that he very narrowly avoids, you know, getting taken out by the bad guys, which then ups the tension. Like you said, it feels like this movie has real stakes, even though you know realistically the good guy's going to win. You definitely feel the tension.
Yeah.
And I think McClane is such a great central character. He's so fun. And Bruce Willis is so charismatic and so sexy. So it's just so much fun to watch. And I just really enjoy it. Like, I think I'm actually going to rewatch it probably this week, because Steven has never seen Die Hard. So I need to show it to
Oh
him and
wow,
make
that's
let
amazing.
him see
Yeah.
the awesomeness. So I think I'll definitely be rewatching it this week, because it was just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, that's funny. I came across someone today who'd never seen it, so it's really surprising. But yeah, it's definitely a staple of the holidays, and
Yeah.
so some of those action scenes are really well directed, and the tension with them, because the air vent scene is a good example.
Yes,
And
yes.
this is where a lot of times you get the best sort of action or tension if it is in a largely confined space, because the majority of the film is in this one tower block. It is not out on the streets or different places, and so that air vent scene, it just naturally is quite tense, because he knows he can't move about too much, or he has to like stop, and it's quite sort of like the shots of them down below, like looking around with guns, and he's just waiting for the moment where he might open the air vent, and he can't be too loud. So stuff like that is really good stuff, really good tense stuff. And yeah, there's some great action scenes, like, you know, the fight he has with like the German guy.
That's a great scene.
When he
great
hangs him up by the chain.
To the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs. Just every, you know, every scene, of course, the yippee-ki-yay line. But my favorite line is actually not like a line spoken out loud. It's the now I have a machine gun, ho 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 message. I absolutely love that. It's just, again, just using, because I love that McClane's about to send the guy down in the elevator, and when he looks behind him and he sees the Christmas decoration, and he's like, hey. And this is what I mean about exactly. This is what I mean about this being a Christmas film, because like if this was just a normal action film, they would have just sent the guy down, but instead it's like, no, now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho, because it's Christmas, motherfuckers. And so I just think it's just such a great working of like the setting and the theme, and just everything is it's just so good, so much fun.
And Gruber reading that line out is really funny as well. Yeah, like you can get any more polar opposites like Hans Gruber and John McClane, and that's why their dynamic and rivalry works so well, because you get the stuff about him talking about typical American heroes and westerns, Roy Rogers and all that. Because I like the touch of like John calling himself Roy as well, like as a pretend name. That's a really clever touch.
Yeah.
So no, the whole thing works really well. I find it funny him being put out by Californians as well, because he keeps saying, "Damn California."
That whole East Coast versus West Coast thing in America.
Yeah, it just plays up the difference between Yeah, almost like this unofficial rivalry sort of thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's a really fun film, a really grueling, intense film, but
Mm.
so many iconic lines and like imageries and great music. And I do like actually that vent scene when just you get random lines like that just stand out where he
Yeah.
just says, "Now I know how like a microwave dinner
A
feels," or
microwave TV
something
did a
like
film.
that.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was a
that's a
great
really
line.
clever line.
Yeah.
For him just to say that in the moment where he's in the crawling around the
Yeah.
vent.
hmm
So
No, I
yeah.
love that he talks to himself, like right after he sees Tahaki or the guy get shot, and he's like, "Why didn't you do something, John? Why didn't you stop it? Or then we'd both be dead." And it's like, he's having a little argument back and forth with himself, and he's just so charismatic and funny when he does it. It's just so much fun to watch.
Yeah, and him near the start, he's constantly trying to get the police to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when he phones that like the hotline, and she's like, "This is for emergencies," it's like, "No fucking shit! You think I'm ordering a pizza?"
Yeah.
And he'll just try to get them various things. He's like, "Yeah, report me, send someone out," sort of
Yes,
thing.
yes, he's so happy. He's like, "Yes, report me, send the cops to fucking send someone." It's like, he's so frustrated. He's just like, "Come on, dudes, I need a hand here." Also, one of my favorite lines, I love at the end when I think it's just after the roof is blown up. He's on the radio to the cop. He's like, "You just got butt fucked on national TV," and just like, "Yeah, you did, buddy." It's just so
Yeah.
great, so iconic.
And anytime that's why you need like a good villain or a good sort of douchebag like that, because
Yeah.
whenever they get their comeuppance or they're put in their place, it makes it all the more satisfying.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I actually like Al's line to him where it says, why don't you start shoveling what you've been taught or
Yeah.
taught? Yeah, back up what you've been shoveling or something, which is
Yeah.
really good.
So
Yeah,
great.
so
Yeah. Also, I have to take a little minute to give some props to Argyle down in the basement, taking out the tech dude with his limo, and then just getting out and punching him in the face. Argyle is fantastic. I just love him. So much
yeah,
fun.
yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another little gem of a scene, really.
Mm. Yeah, because you kind of
But
think, why is Argyle like hanging around? Why have they kept him around? And then you get to that end scene, you're like, okay, cool. It's so he could come in the last minute and take out one of the bad guys. Plus, I love the scene where John's up in the building. He's like, "Argyle, tell me you heard the shots and you called the police." And it just cuts to Argyle and he's
yeah,
in the car with the music turned out loud and he's on the phone going, "Yeah,
yeah.
baby, I'll come around later." It's like, oh, Argyle, you fool. But he's just so much fun. Oh, just everything about this
Yeah,
film just works so well.
because it's played as a gag, really. Then
Yeah.
he until he sees it on TV, he doesn't
Yeah.
know that there's anything going on. That's
He's
pretty
just chilling
funny.
down in the
And then
garage,
he
just like,
starts
yeah.
freaking out. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, so good. Everything about this movie is just, oh, it's fantastic. And rewatching it just reignited my love for it. And like I said, I think I'll definitely be making this a Christmas staple from now on.
Yeah, good, cool. But
Mm.
yeah, it did sort of change like the action movie template in many
Yeah.
ways, and for like the lead as well, because I
Mm.
think the point about Die Hard is that he is more of an everyday guy. He's not,
Yes.
your big hulking bodybuilder like Mr.
Yes.
Universe type
Yeah.
thing, and he is more of a relatable type character who has emotions, has vulnerability
Yes.
to go along with being a tough guy as well, because maybe in future years he was typecast a little bit in action roles, and some of the quality started going down. But like, it's worth remembering, like you said earlier, the guy at his best did have a lot of charisma and
Oh, yeah.
and could actually do comedy quite well. We saw that really in his role in Moonlighting,
Yes.
which is how he got this role. So people forget that sometimes because he maybe has been typecast a bit as an action style star.
Yes.
Yeah, but he actually does bring like jokes and charisma to those roles. lead character and such a great villain just playing off each other.
Yeah.
That's really satisfying. And that scene, the big set piece near the end with the roof exploding and then him coming over the side is one of my favourite action set pieces of all time.
That is
it just looks so good.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. All the practical effects. And again, it's one of those
really
moments where as he looks over and he realizes what he has to do, he's just like, oh God, please don't let me die. You know, it's not one of those moments where he's just like, yes, I'm going to do this. He's like, oh God, I can't believe I have to do this. Okay, here we go. It really makes the character feel more real and more relatable, that he's having all of those panic moments just before he does something, you know, big and brash like that. It's really fun to watch.
We may well do the sequels in the future because
we
have sort of set up
they do kind of decline
franchise
in quality as they keep going.
Yeah, it sort of goes in that order. Like I think probably there's an argument that 3's better than 2, but yeah, we'll see how we go. I take it you haven't seen any of the sequels.
I've seen number 2. But other than that, I haven't seen any, but I have seen number 2.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll probably do the sequels at some point. The only one I haven't seen is number 5. I've seen
the most
4.
recent one. Okay. Well, that'll be interesting.
I'm expecting. Yeah, I'm expecting that to be a bit of a turd, but yeah. We'll do the sequels one.
What would you rate this movie? What would you give Die Hard?
A 9. Really nice. Really strong stuff. Yeah, obviously, I could go as high as 10, and like we said, it's pretty much the perfect action movie. But yeah, I'll go for 9 just because I think very few movies are like as a 10. But no, it pretty much delivers all round for me. So yeah.
Very cool. I would be the same. I'd go with a 9. Like you, like there are only a few movies that I'd give a 10 to, but like this is really such a great action film. I mean, everything's filmed so well. Charismatic lead, fun lead, great villain, and like I said, I forgot how funny this movie is at times. There are just so many little moments of humor just between the bad guys or with that horrible, or with Ellis, the coke snorter, when he's trying to outsmart the villains, and it's just so bad.
That's a really good scene, isn't it? When he just thinks he's
what an idiot. Oh, what a moron. And I love how Hans is just humoring him, letting him think that he's he's getting away with it and being the big honcho. Basically. Yeah. So just so much fun. And like I said, I basically watched the movie just looking like this the whole time. And when it got to the end and Hans actually fell off the building and it was all big dramatic, I was just sitting there just grinning like an idiot because, like I said, you just don't get action movies like this anymore. The fun, the heart, the cheesiness, it all just seemed to be lost after the 90s. So it's nice to go back and watch a throwback movie like this and enjoy that cheesy action. And yes, definitely a Christmas movie. So 9 out of 10, I'm with you. We are in total agreement on this one. So that's cool.
Doing a special video looking at some Christmas favourites coming up where we will pick some of our favourite Christmas movies and the ones we tend to watch around this sort of time of year. But let us know what you think of Die Hard in the comments below. Is it a regular for you around this sort of time, and how do you think it holds up, all the rest of it? And we look forward to doing more Christmas content over the course of the month. There will be more coming up, a special list show as well, so look out for those on the channel this month. But Rachel, if you want to promote your channel.
Guys, you can follow me, Rachel McDonald, video essays on TV shows and movies. I haven't posted in a little while, but I am hoping to get more content up soon, especially going into the new year. And you can also find my Tumblr linked through my YouTube. And Keith usually puts a link in the description. And given that we are in total agreement today, he will definitely be doing that. It's usually when we have little disagreements that it's a bit iffy. But just come and follow me everywhere.
Happy holidays, guys. Yes. And yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers.
Motherfuckers.
See you later.
It's Christmas Eve in L.A.
California.
Is Daddy coming home with you?
Well, we'll see what Santa and Mommy can do, okay?
A New York cop, John McClane, has come to see his wife.
I missed you.
Instead, he's going to have to save her.
Sit down.
Within this skyscraper high above the city, 12 terrorists have declared war.
They're about to be taught a lesson in the real use of power.
They're as brilliant
Because I am interested in the $640 million in your vault.
as they are ruthless.
And I'm telling you, you're just going to have to kill me. Okay. We do it the hard way.
Now, the last thing McClane wants
Think, David, think.
is to be a hero.
Where's Howie? Hey, Tucker! Where?
But he doesn't have a choice.
What does he think he's doing?
Job.
They have already killed one hostage.
This channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
Hey, do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
He's inside? Who is he? Who are you then? You are most troublesome for a security guard.
Yeah, sorry, wrong guess, huh? Would you like to go for double jeopardy?
You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, mother. But you just destroyed a building. I am in charge of this situation. Well, I got some bad news for you. From up here, that look like you're in charge of Jack. He is alone, he is tired, and he hasn't seen diddly squat from anybody down here.
Hey, pal, how you feeling?
All things being equal, I'd rather be in Philadelphia.
And you'll have it.
Only John can drive somebody that crazy.
He's an easy guy to like
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
and a hard man to kill. Bruce Willis, Die Hard.
Got invited to the Christmas party by mistake. Who knew?